All right. This is what time it is, right? We are 6 women doing a low carb, keto or carnivore or omnivore protocols because we all want better health. But here's the thing. It's so confusing out there. So I thought, why don't I bring in some women to tell their stories of what's going on with them? Because a lot of people get confused on what real people actually go through. Because I can sit there and show my abs all day long and say, oh my God, it's so easy. And that wouldn't be true. Now that I have a group of women, we've got 6 voices individually and collectively. And we are all going to tell our stories about this intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, absolute nonsense. And because I've been saying this for so many years, all y'all people watching the replay won't get triggered as easily because you used to Stephanie saying what time it is. But guess what? We got Sarah Carnivore Yogi in the house, who's also like co-hosting this whole thing. So, Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this. Steph and I have been on WhatsApp, like, girl, this is going to be awesome. Like, I've been so excited because here's the thing that people don't understand. And as much as I talk about it on my channel, as much as I reiterate this, we're not just people sitting behind a screen just spouting off stuff. Steph is not doing that. Steph has 12, 13 years of working one-on-one with people, a lot of women. And I have my time here on the internet of actually reading all of the comments, which can be very draining, but reading my direct messages. I get emails, and a lot of them are from women who have been listening to this stuff that we're being told, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, super high protein, all this stuff. And their bodies, as Steph said, are fracked up. And you know what? So I'm super excited to actually have some real voices. So it's not just me and Steph up here saying this stuff will mess you up, right? This is like actual people telling their experience. So it's like the comment section and my DM section are like coming alive right now. So I'm really excited for the conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah and I have been talking about this for a while because it is not very easy to be on the internet and push against the narrative.
Yeah.
It's the unpopular thing to say that certain aspects that other people might deem as easy. We know that the situation is not easy. Now, I want to go into Sarah's story last because, Sarah is a bit of my inspiration of doing this whole thing because you have been talking about your journey from, losing weight, losing 100 pounds 3 times, and the measures that you took to lose all that weight, then proceeded by, bam, some fracked up frackery. And so Sarah is going to go, hey, everybody, we see you coming into the chat. So thank you. Love to see you, Becky, by the way, and everybody. But as we go into this, so I want to everybody here is so friggin' awesome. Everyone here, y'all listen to this, has a completely different story, but they are similar details that I've heard from hundreds of women. And men, I love you all people out there. And we're going to talk about men too. I'm going to wrap it up with some men as well. But men who are out there talking about fasting is okay and it's no problem and eating 1 meal a day is fabulous.
And you won't lose your period.
And you won't lose your period. Y'all, listen to this. All right. We're going to start with the first story from Sarah. And I'm leaving their last names out, but this is not Sarah Carnivore Yogi. This is Sarah F. And as in fabulous. So we're going to start with Sarah Fabulous. And we want to hear her story of what I want to do is I want to find out why you guys initially got into anything that was ketogenic or carnivore, and how you discovered the fasting, and then what the heck went left. All right, let's do this, Sarah.
All right. So I've always been pretty fit, and I've always had a little bit of extra weight that I didn't understand. I was eating all the right things and lots of veggies and rice
Hold on
and
one sec,
all
hold on
these.
one sec, Sarah. Can everybody else mute their microphones while the one person's talking? All right, go for it, Sarah.
So I always had the excess weight, and it wasn't abnormal amount, but I was not comfortable. I knew that something had to be wrong. So I found keto with, hearing other success stories, and, really tried to switch things up. And I'm one of those that when I want to do something, I go all in right away. So I dove into all of these gurus and, upped my fat to what I thought I was upping my fat. Ate a lot more protein, left out the carbs, and I then started intermittent fasting, looking at, for the most part, maybe 1 to 2 meals a day, probably 2, but in a pretty short time. I would
And I'm
eat.
just going to ask, how did you find it, and why were you doing it as well? Continue.
Yeah, so my dog's going to chime in here and there, but
Okay.
I found it. I found, I was listening to a lot of different podcasts. I, was on a lot of keto people in the community, their Instagram, their websites, just trying to learn as much as I could. And I think fasting for me, I thought more rapid weight loss, which was what I was looking for, right? We want to do things. And when you're doing everything right, you wanted to see the results immediately as well. And then it kind of went hand in hand. Like all of a sudden it was keto, but if you're keto, you're also fasting, or if you're carnivore, you're also fasting. And that's how you're going to see these amazing results with autophagy and, an eating window. And I just got so caught up in trying to do everything perfectly. So I started fasting, probably even like right away. I don't know. I definitely wasn't fat adapted. I thought I was doing everything correctly, but the fasting messed everything up. When I started, I would be like on the road and I would start getting dizzy in my car. And I'm like, oh, I'll just eat some salt. I should be fine. My hair fell out drastically. Like in a month, I had so much hair loss that it was like paper thin.
And did you connect the fasting to the hair loss, or were you just in that sort of like dogmatic like trance of I got to keep going?
Yeah, I think because I actually reached out to my doctor, and they were like everything's normal, and they're like you have a hormone shift. It's telogen effluvium, like it happens to women who have children and this and that. But I didn't have kids, and I'm in my 30s. Like this is not normal. So I didn't really attribute it to the fasting. And, as I kept going, I was losing weight. So things were looking great. Everyone's like, wow, what are you doing? And I would probably eat, my first meal at noon or 1 o'clock, but I would watch that clock. Like if it was 18 hours, I was eating. So wow. I would have like pound or two of ground beef and some eggs, or, that big steak. And I would eat it as fast as I could. So I think it was one of those things after eating and having issues with food that you're like, wow, I can do this and eat as much as I want in this little window. And now I'll be super healthy and my cells are doing all these amazing things. And I'm curing my, any potential cancer, or just everything that you read about fasting. So my hormones also tanked, where I've always had pretty good skin and been able to be in the sun. And all of a sudden I had melasma and I had my hormone levels checked. And I was premenopausal for progesterone. My estrogen tanked, so like everything. And then what's crazy is I even went back 6 months later and I thought, oh, well, it's because I'm new to fasting and keto. I better give it a chance. And my numbers got worse. So I thought I was trying to make things better, and tracking all that, it actually got so much worse. And I didn't really put it all together because I just kind of thought this needs time. I did my fasted workouts. So I was just every day and up at, working out at 5:30 in the morning without eating anything, hit workout. And, that was kind of it. So I never knew it was doing as much damage as it did. And now I'm trying to undo it, and I eat a lot more often, and it definitely feels better. I'm not starving all the time.
Exactly. You're not starving. So how long ago did you start this fasting journey? When did it stop? And what's the healing process like now?
I started, I would say it's been probably 3 years ago, when I started kind of keto. And then once I went a little bit more strict, more carnivore, I really upped it. So in January would have been the second year that I really started fasting a lot more, where it was like 18 to 24 hours, and just seeing kind of how long I could go. And then I then started gaining weight again, and I didn't understand why. Like, I was doing everything right and I was putting on pounds. So I would fast longer and eat, I have to eat a little, maybe I have to eat less protein, or no, everyone says you can eat as much as you want. So I don't understand what's happening. And then it wasn't working for me. So I found
went down. Were you like doing this fasting and the protein was going up and the fat was going down because you're having these weight loss goals?
I think so, but there's a lot of mixed messages where, all you have to do is eat high protein, eat as much protein as you want, have it be fatty beef. So I would eat, my fat was coming from that, or like a ribeye, or like fattier ground beef, or a lot of eggs. And if you're trying to eat that much fat, you're also eating that much protein, which was not helping me in any way. And I would eat so much of it. And like, I've heard other keto people talking about, fat is your lever. So if you are ketogenic, you just pull down the fat and now you're going to burn more fat, like burn the fat off your plate or your body. And it made so much sense that I just believed it. And now, knowing that it's more about hormones and blood sugar and the bigger picture,
and your lifestyle and getting the stress down and getting this up and all these types of
I just want to ask you a question too. Like, so when you're in this process, this is kind of my story and what I see a lot of people doing. Were you like binge watching stuff on YouTube and Instagram, and just like, even though you felt like complete crap, were you kind of like trying to consume as much information as possible to affirm the lifestyle? Because this is the big thing that I see, that I have done, that I see a lot of people doing, and that's why they keep going.
Yeah.
It's like, my hair's falling out, my hormones have tanked, but here's a YouTube video that XYZ just made, so let me binge watch all their stuff. Was that part of what was going on with you?
I think I watched everyone. I found everyone I could, and even though a lot of it would be conflicting information, I then found a few different sources where I'm like, well, I like this approach better, right? And tried to kind of go that way. But yeah, I binge watched as much as I could. I bought books. I listened to podcasts and just really tried to understand everything I could. And I don't think I put it two and two together that it was the fasting. I think, what my doctor even said, like, well, you're shifting your fuel source. It's going to take time. Or, I just had this other mentality that the hair fell out when I changed it. It wasn't because I'm still doing this. It started coming back a little bit, that I just thought it was something else and not necessarily the fasting. But when I saw things progressively get worse, my cycle going haywire, where, it was 45 days this time since I've gotten my cycle. And last time it was, 22, or it was just so all over the place that it really messes with you. And I just thought it was normal, which it wasn't. And then my thyroid actually numbers started going down too, which is what I then was like, well, maybe that's the connection. And when I put it together, I'm like, I need to eat more fat. The first month actually that I started the high fat, moderate protein protocol, I got my period on day 28, which never happens. It's still not perfect, but it's going back. It is definitely in the right window. But upping the fat the first month, I was shocked. My husband was shocked too. So yeah, it's been much better. I know I have a long way to go and nothing's perfect. But it's better for my body and my mental state, that I think it was awful just not eating and sitting there at someone else is having breakfast, or I would bring, for part of my job, I would bring breakfast to people and I would sit there and not eat. And you're just like, all I want is that food right there. So it almost made the problem worse.
I mean, I feel like we talk so much about the physical stuff, which is a lot of what we're talking about, but we don't really talk about the psychological effect of fasting as well. And, I think a lot of women struggle with eating disorders. I've had eating disorders, obviously, because I've lost 100 pounds 3 times. But that psychological effect of like sitting, watching your friends eat or your family eat, and then, oh, I'm not eating because I'm fasting. I feel like that, the psychological effect of this as well can really run deep. And, this whole thing of neuroimmunology is real, that it's just more stress on the body. It's mental stress, and then that will manifest as physical stress as well. So I love how you're talking about how did you feel a little bit more depressed or sad when you were watching people eat?
Oh yeah. Well, especially if you're trolling or going on the Instagram and everything else, you see all this beautiful food, right? Like, so it would be 6 a.m. and I'm like, oh man, look at that breakfast. Look at that steak. Like, that's all you want. So it was all about when can I eat again? And, I think that's when it also was a problem is I'm binging and fasting. So why is this any better than what I was doing before? Even though it's the right foods, it's the same problem. So yeah, the mental part was a big piece of it as well.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah, for this. There was a question that I wanted to answer real quick in between because it was such an important question. Before we go on to Sasha. So the question.
Good. I was going to answer that one too. I mean, yeah. I'm going to say right away, I know damn well how to lose weight. I've lost.
Let me read it out just so people who are on the replay can really get it.
I'm so excited
of this. So what are your thoughts on people with a lot of weight to lose and aren't fit and fasting? So go for it, Sarah.
Yeah, I've lost 100 pounds before and I never once fasted, ever. I have lost weight a million times in my life before with zero fasting. I'm losing weight right now and I'm not fasting. I'm losing a steady 1 pound a week. Steph is helping me do that. And I'm not fasting. You can absolutely lose weight without fasting. I mean, it's just, that's my thoughts. I'll put myself back on mute now.
Okay. I also want to say this very quickly. You guys, for those who are new to hearing this concept, is that when you intermittent fast, I probably should have started this whole process explaining this. When you fast with a damaged body, you put your body into more risk of more damage. And the body needs gasoline to fuel the car. That's just the way it is. Food is medicine and food is gasoline to drive a car. When you're going 100 miles an hour in a car without putting food in it, then the body has to rob from itself to rebalance. So the problem is a thing called gluconeogenesis coming from the adrenal, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal system. And so you're not in ketosis. Yeah, most people aren't, especially these high protein people. You're not in ketosis, and your glycogen, which is the storage in your muscle, is low, if not depleted. And the body's like, okay, you're doing a bunch of stuff. Put some food in it. That's right. Get up and eat. This is the reason why people ate. And now there's this very confusing idea of autophagy. Here's the problem. Hunter-gatherers would rest. And I've said this many times in past videos. Hunter-gatherers would if they beamed up into the future and saw humans not eating on the treadmill machine, they'd be laughing their ass off going, is this what we've evolved to or devolved? Because this makes no sense. When you do something, you rest. Nobody's resting anymore. We're go. Even looking at your phone is an adrenal response. It's a cortisol response. There is no time to breathe and clear your mind as carnivore yogi. See the last part, the yogi part, right, Sarah? To go and find ways to breathe properly. And she can really attest to that, breathing and being in the moment. And a lot of people never learn this their entire lives. So you're this big adrenaline junkie, you're this big fight or flight junkie. And then you go, whoa, what's going on with my hormones? My metabolism is slowing down. So what's the thing I should do? Deprive myself of food. And we get a lot of men telling us this. Are you kidding me? And then they're saying that our hormones aren't different. Yes, they are. Last time I checked, men can't have no babies. Okay? Our monthly period is gnarly. And a man has no idea what that's like. And I'm sure that Miranda can attest to that as well. But so the point is that when you don't eat and you're not adapted, you're not fat adapted, you're not in ketosis, you're not highly adapted, not with the 0.5 ketones, it's nothing. If you're not highly adapted, the body will need glucose. So it'll break down protein, convert it into glucose, so at least your brain gets a steady supply of blood sugar, right? Or just enough to get through the Krebs cycle. And to do that, it has to break down your own body proteins, amino acids. And that's not just muscle. We always say muscle. It's skin, it's collagen, right? It's your reproductive system. It's your hair, it's your bone density. It is so many things, which is why people experience crepey skin and dark circles under the eyes. And I mean, there's a million symptoms that come with dropping your fat, upping your protein. Now there's not enough energy in the system. And now you're off doing this crazy day without resting. Your body has to break down more amino acids to get through that day. And when that happens, you start developing more autoimmunity. So that's why I don't care what weight you're at. Your body will not access that body fat when it's under stress, period. It will always defer to glucose. So, and if you're not eating glucose, it'll make it out of your amino acids, which ruins your health even more. So it's just a complete negative cycle over and over and over again. And that's what these women are explaining. So if anybody's asking, well, I'm really, really overweight, why can't I just fast? Aren't I going to access that fat cell? No, fat cells are inefficient, especially if you have metabolic derangement. The body's not going to burn fat. It's going to burn the amino acids first, because to survive, our bodies do not understand we live in the modern time at all. Our bodies still think we're living outside. Okay, so the best thing for humans, especially as a human species, is to get fat, because in our fat, we have fat soluble vitamins, vitamin D, E, A, and K. Muscle, right? It's metabolically active. If your body's a house, your muscle will keep the freaking appliances on, the tumble dryer, every light on in the house, giving you a high electric bill. So if you're trying to conserve energy, you're going to dump all that protein, right? You're going to get up the protein. You're going to spare the fat because there's no blood vessels run through it. It comes, it's go. It literally is a storage tank for if I'm going to die, I need a reserve tank. But this is the emergency tank that I'm not going to access, especially if I'm metabolically deranged. I'm going to get fatter, because if your body's under stress, that means I'm starving, even though there's food in the refrigerator. The body, when the body's stressed, it just wants to get fat. So the hormones get wacky, and all it does is want to survive. So I know that we want to look aesthetic, but the body's going to always defer to getting fat and not burning. That's the reason why I don't understand how ketosis went down the toilet and people started eating high protein. What happened to high fat? Your body has to take fat that you eat, convert that into ketones. Your body, you have to train your body, develop the enzymes to break the ketones down, convert them in your liver to acetoacetate to get in the bloodstream, so you don't bonk, have more autoimmunity, have more hypoglycemia, and all this stuff. And you have to eat high fat first. You have to encourage the brain, teach it how to burn fat. Then once that happened, your fat doesn't have to be as high as it once originally was. It's still going to be high, but while you sleep, you're going to burn body fat. So why do we have to do high fat protein and fast to be aesthetic? Well, it doesn't make any sense. So with that said, let's go on to, I think, Sasha left for a second. Yeah. So let's go on to Andrea and her story, because this is also very, very interesting.
Hey, y'all. I'm pleased to represent the senior part of this community. Yes, Stephanie, you're still behind me by quite a bit. I'm 61, proud of being 61. Look, I got the business too.
What?
Yeah,
What?
yes. I got the 61-year-old business, and I've been proud of that. My story began at a very, very young age. I was the bullied fat kid. And that was really, really fundamental to all of the problems that came afterwards. I was raised in rural Pennsylvania. I grew up outside. I ran, I played, and I'm structurally a big girl. I just am. I'm of German heritage and I've got big bones and I'm 5'9" and I carry muscle. Family moved to California and I was tortured. I was tortured because there were mean girls here and they picked on kids that were a little beefier than they were. And so from an early age, my self-identity was that I was fat. And I lived with that through my younger years. I never shook it off. And after my first pregnancy, which by the way, I checked into the hospital at 201 pounds. I remember I remember going over 200 pounds like it was, it was a line in the sand. And I came out of the hospital and I learned to teach aerobics. And that was back in the day of Jane Fonda when you couldn't possibly jump high enough. Your leg warmers and your belt and your perfect Dance France leotard all matched. And I I would teach 11 classes, 12 classes a week. I'd go back after teaching 2 classes. I'd go teach another class. I was an adrenaline junkie. I lived on it. I put it in my veins. It was, and I got skinny. Oh, there was no doubt I got skinny. And between classes, I'd have tab and snack wells, and then I'd go back and I would teach some more. And I was so proud of what I had accomplished. And what I didn't realize was I jacked up my knees, I jacked up my hips because I wasn't nourishing my body the way it needed to be nourished. And somewhere, and I have no idea why, this arbitrary number of 135 was in my brain at all times. I don't know where 135 ever came from. I looked at what a 5'9" fit guy would weigh who had muscles on their body. And I thought, okay, his muscles, my boobs, it's all about even. Steven, 135 must be the right answer. So not realistic for my body type or my musculature, but there it was. That 135 was the answer. So I went through my life. I, by the way, may be the only person on the planet whose adrenals were so jacked that I fell asleep sitting front row at the Rolling Stones concert. Seriously, that's some jacked up adrenals. I literally put my head to my chest and went to sleep. My friends all thought I'd lost my mind. But when you are so burnt, your body will eventually take over and it will sleep. It was like having narcolepsy. So fast forward a number of years, I have now 2 kids and 4 grandkids, a 5th grandkid on the way, and still very fit. I'm on Stephanie's group on Facebook, and I tend to speak up the most when it comes to women who have that go big or go home attitude, because I can speak really clearly on what that attitude did to me and how easy it is when I get on my Peloton and I've got the leaderboard on the right and I want to beat everybody's butt, especially the 30-year-olds, because I can. It doesn't mean I should, but I can. And I have to remind myself that there's a big difference between can and should. So I went to keto. Keto seemed like a good answer. And like the other ladies in the panel, I found all kinds of pundits that I could listen to and I could learn from. But I always sort of had one eyebrow up, because if you followed the money and you looked at who the sponsors were and you could see how unhealthy some of those companies were that were sponsoring these guys, and I'm sorry, guys, I use guys in the universal sense. I don't want to disparage the men of our community, but the men of our community may be more in numbers than the women. In any case, I started really questioning. I mean, it's, you can't not look at what's behind the Wizard of Oz mirrors and was it curtains? So anyway, so I started questioning the general sense of what's right and what's real. And I was eating keto snacks like everybody else. And I thought, okay, this is totally manageable. And for me, a lot of this has been about finding what is sustainable for me for the long range. What is going to make me feel healthy? What's going to allow me to be social with my friends and family? What's going to allow me to go on business trips and and still participate in a socially active way. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again. And I realized that keto wasn't getting me there either. So I started leaning in towards Omnivore and then Carnivore, and still I wasn't sleeping well. I may be, I'm postmenopausal for many years now, still have hot flashes, sleep was a little odd, digestion was a little off. But all in all, I was doing really, really well. And I'm fortunate to say that I didn't get to carnivore because of terrible health issues. I got to carnivore on a matter of fine tuning to try and clean up some areas that still didn't feel good. And then came fasting. What a flippin' nightmare that was. If you if you take, now that you know me a little bit and you know how competitive I am, you can begin to see where this story is going to go. Because I thought, okay, 16 hours, cool, but look at this person. They're doing 18 and they say it's great. And now these people are saying you got to do 24. Autophagy doesn't really happen until 36, even though you've learned that autophagy is occurring within our bodies all the time, whether you're fasting or not. But I want that. I don't want cancer. I don't want those nasty cells in my body reproducing. I need that. So all of a sudden I'm going 36 and I'm stopped in my tracks from fatigue. It was just crazy, but I was obsessed. Like Sarah was saying, I was watching the clock like a hawk. And if I did less than 18 hours or 20 hours because I was hungry, I would beat myself up that I failed. So one day I got on the scale, which I almost never do. And lo and behold, yep, there was 135 and I looked like shite. It looked like my skin was dripping off my body. Everything was hanging and crepey and my muscles were gone. And I had this strange sort of dry elephant looking skin. And it was just like, what the heck? And I'd only been doing the fasting thing for about 3 months. I have never seen a change occur that fast. And those of you who are listening into this podcast and you think dropping weight like that is a great thing, trust me, it is not. It was not a great thing. And that was when I found Stephanie. The old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, is one of my very favorites. And this student was ready and that teacher appeared. And I went back as far as I could and I listened to everything I heard. And I had to suspend my disbelief because it flew in the face of so many things that I had grown up believing in. And even when I was doing keto, I had managed to get my fat grams down to practically zero because that was what I knew to be the right answer. And so it wasn't until I got to Stephanie and I eased up. 200 grams of fat was easy for me. I can eat Kerrygold butter with a knife and fork and be perfectly happy. Every time we go to the store, I'll have on the list, butter times 4. Butter times 4, and we just keep storing it up in the freezer. So here I am, and although I haven't weighed myself, it's been about 3 months now on Stephanie's protocol. I'm pretty sure I've picked back up another 5 pounds. But guess what? It's here. It came back to my muscles. My skin looks great. My hair, which is wet, by the way, I just finished a workout, looks great. It's thick, it's lustrous. I even went to tallow soap and tallow body lotion. And it's been a total life changer, total game changer. So being on the other end of the baby making scale and the period scale and all of that, I can tell you, for those of you who are over 50, over 60, even over 70, this is the right way to go and be fit and stretch and exercise and time under tension and breathe and sweat and get vitamin D, get in the sun and drink lots of water and be well.
I love it.
So that's my story.
I want to be you when I grow up.
Yeah, Andrea's a bit of a badass.
Thank you.
Mom.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's being shy. You're a badass. That was a really great story. In fact, both Sarah and Andrea both have like different spectrums. Like Sarah F was talking about her sort of thyroid debacle and low energy. And even though we've got women from all different backgrounds, and unfortunately Sasha dropped out. She has a very interesting story because she also has a hardcore autoimmune disorder. So hopefully she can come back in and explain her story. But Andrea and Sarah, thank you for these very interesting sort of positions on your individual journey, where, as you can see with Andrea, she's talking about lifting and having muscle, and she's in her 60s and she's feeling vibrant, and she just wants to get down to that nice stealth fitness weight. And everything went south when she was depriving her body, because the obsession of going lower and lower in fat, it's subconscious. It creeps up on you that you start to do more and more extreme measures and then keep checking the scale. So thank you, Andrea, for that. And we'll be going back to you women in a second. So that was a really great, inspiring story. Very interesting. And now I want to go on to Miranda. Now, Miranda is someone who came to me for coaching a while ago now. And I don't remember the exact date. She probably can explain that. And she's been going through it, y'all. I mean, as you can see, she looked like a little supermodel over there. But behind that little supermodel veneer, she got some stuff going down. So I really want you, Miranda, to explain your whole journey, because you're still going through it. And I don't think that Sarah F. and Andrea have like social media accounts where they want people to follow them. But I want you to obviously go to Miss Yogi. Okay, always go to her shite and subscribe for all these like amazing video content updates and information from Sarah, Carnivore Yogi. Don't forget, you guys, to like up the stream, because it helps sort of bring more people. Oh, Sasha back? No, let me see. Hold on a second.
She's trying to get back in the room, but I don't think she's got the right link.
No, she's got it.
Okay, great.
But we're going to go on to, hold on, let me get her in. There she is. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go on to Miranda, and then we'll take Sasha, and then we'll take Sarah, Carnivore Yogi. But I want you guys to go to Miranda's Instagram, which is Carnivore Miranda. So go there. She's a great mobility coach. And I didn't even know this, y'all, until I went to her Instagram page. She'd already she consulted with me twice. And I was like, I'm gonna check this girl out, because she was hitting me up on Instagram. I was like, oh my God, this woman is sick. This woman is a crazy athlete. So it was really understanding the body movement. But with that said, Miranda, talk to us.
Hey, how are you guys? Oh my gosh, my journey really started when my son was born. My first son, he's 10 years old. He's on the autism spectrum. And by the time I had my second child, I was doing my due diligence to make sure that he didn't present with autism symptoms as well. So after my son was born, my second son, my OB was like, hey, what are you going to do for birth control? And I'm like, well, what do you got for me? So she goes, the easiest thing to do is the Mirena, because then it can really help control your hormones, blah, 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 blah. So I said, oh, that sounds good to me. So she gave me the Mirena. Then I went on to this journey, like Andrea had talked about. Once you hit that 200 mark post-pregnancy weight, you just kind of draw that line in the sand.
Let me cut you off, you guys, for a second.
Over 200 pounds.
Miranda used to look just a hop, skip, and a jump a few years back. This did not look like the same woman, okay, before. You don't even know what she looked like. Oh. She looked like the Midwestern, like friggin', she looked like she was, she doesn't even look like the same person anymore. Like, she's evolved to this beautiful, wonderful human being as far as really working on her health. But she was overweight, frumpy, Midwest mom, looked like a freaking refrigerator. Yes. Now go for it. Continue.
Thank you. I I look a lot younger than I did 10 years ago. We'll just
Yeah.
put it that way. But like Andrea had said, you know, like after pregnancy, you just draw that line in the sand. I'm also 5'9" as well. So when I gain weight, I am a big girl, a big girl. So I had my two boys, over 200 pounds. My oldest being on the autism spectrum at the time, his symptoms were out of control, and I was at my wit's end. So I had postpartum depression. I was trying to acclimate to the new IUD I received and trying to figure out how to make my autistic son function at school without the school calling me every single day. So then I dove in, found Stephanie, and the one-liner that got me hooked on her was her saying, "These kids on peanut butter and gluten, they are all fracked up." And I was like, interesting. She goes, "You wonder why kids are running around with ADHD, running around with this, this, and this." And I was like, wow, I don't know, that like slapped me across the face. And then ever since then, I dove into the rabbit hole of all the research that I can do for my son to help with his symptoms. And since I was doing it for him, I'm like, then I'm going to do it for myself. So we both were ketoing together. He was doing really well. I was doing really well. Then intermittent fasting and keto was really big at the time at the gym that I was going to. So being a competitive person, we're like, hey, we're going on a group fast together. So I started fasting. Intermittent fasting, started at doing like 14 hours. Then the 14 turned into 15 because all the young moms went to the gym. After that, then we went grocery shopping. Then we did the errands. Then we did the pickup for play dates, yada, yada, yada. Got home. We didn't have our first meal until maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After having a workout, after all the stress load that we put on ourselves as moms. And sometimes I even remember having my first meal after I picked up my son from school, like maybe even after 4 or 5, not 5, that's too late. 4 o'clock is when they got out. Anyway, so me being a competitive person, I was feeling actually really good. To be honest, I felt good fasting because I was losing weight really fast. Mind you, my hormones didn't tank. So I thought, because the IUD produces progestin. It's a synthetic form of progesterone. So here I am, 5 years ago, I started fasting. Fasted for 4 years.
Wow.
And I would say maybe once or twice a month, I would do a 24-hour fast. When I would get competitive with my friends at the gym, we would do like 2-day fasts. So I would put in maybe 2 or 3 workouts with no eating. I don't think you knew that stuff.
I don't know any of this.
Yeah, it was actually rewarding, mentally rewarding, because it was like, oh my gosh, I got through like all these workouts and I didn't have to eat. Oh, yay. I turned off my hunger hormone. So now the hormones are starting to get a little wonky, but my IUD was keeping me in check. So fast forward, we'll say 4 years. We're getting ready. Me and my family are getting ready to move to California. And I realized that my cellulite, my lower half, I got really nitpicky with my aesthetics. And I'm like, okay, this lower part of my body, I have too much cellulite. How do I get rid of it? Oh, I'm holding too much estrogen. So then I'm like, I need to get this IUD out. I get the IUD out. Talk about the worst hormonal rebound effects I have ever had in my life. So you women who are fasting and on hormonal replacements, however you want to, okay, we'll just say birth control. If you're on birth control and you're fasting,
even for the postmenopausal women doing the progesterone creams,
yes,
and estrogen creams who are postmenopausal, so those would be considered HRCs, hormone replacement therapy. Go ahead, my bad.
Thank you for correcting me on that one. So I got my IUD out in April, moved to California in June. I was feeling okay. And the stress from continuing on fasting, moving to a new state, starting my life over, And meanwhile, my kids trying to adapt and my marriage falling apart, I'm like, I got to run longer. I got to work out harder because this emotional stress that I'm carrying with myself is not jiving with me. So I was emotionally running away by over exercising. I was using the lack of food as a form of control because I didn't have control over what my personal life was going through. Meanwhile, my body is trying to adjust being off of the Mirena, off of the IUD. So come October, I'm like, I'm feeling a little dizzy and weird during my workouts, but I'm going to ignore that. Then I'm like, okay, I'm running low on energy. Let me start drinking more coffee. So I started drinking more coffee. Okay. Then December hits. I became extremely depressed. My fatigue went through the roof. So then I go, I need to get a dog. So then I get a dog. So I'm doing extra running, extra everything. And then my body is trying to make its own progesterone and it can't because it's so used to being on the IUD. Then I'm over exercising, under eating, my hair's breaking, my skin, like Andrea was saying, like your skin just turns into, what did you say, like an elephant? I had crazy lines, like I'm very wrinkly. And then I started spotting in between cycles. Then I lost my period. I was so lean though. I was so lean, but it was not worth it whatsoever. And then February hit and I was in bed for a week straight. I couldn't get out of bed. I wanted to sleep all the time. My adrenals were shot. My emotions were shot. Like everything fell apart in my system. So that's when I reached out to Steph because I was like, uh-oh, I did something and I don't know how to get back to it. So Steph helped create a plan for me to incorporate more food because fasting becomes very, very addictive because you are turning off your hunger signals. You're turning off your full signals. And this is where I go, oh, keto is so great because you're never hungry. No, that's not the thing. The thing is that you jack your hormones up so much that your body is in this fight or flight that it cannot produce enough signals because your adrenals, your cortisol, it's called a cortisol still, and the cortisol stills it overrides everything else in your body. So my progesterone tanked, my estrogen tanked, my hunger hormones tanked, and I wanted to pass out all day, every day. No matter what I did, standing up, getting up, my blood pressure was really low. I thought I was diabetic at one point. So I was a hot mess, and I'm starting to come out of the hot mess just one day at a time. Prioritizing my sleep is huge. Keeping my stress level low is huge. And lymphs. And draining my lymphs. How do you say that?
Lymph nodes.
Lymph nodes. Thank you. I was like, why am I lisping? Just working on my fascia has been really beneficial because I had then electrolyte issues with fasting as well. So it's a tornado of a myriad of things in my thyroid. I now have Hashimoto's. I have PCOS because the Mirena just shut everything off, and then I rebounded. Then I fasted. My estrogen created polyps on and inside of my ovaries, and my T3 is very low, and my energy is low. So I get to baby this thing.
Yeah, this is these examples that you're giving is such a great story to hear because people would look at you and be like, oh, well, what problem does she have? Like, because you guys, if you go to her page, she's muscular, she's fit looking, she's beautiful, but inside she's struggling from prior damage that she had done to her body.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody would know that. And that's the whole thing with, and Sarah, you might want to comment on this as well, but people will give you the illusion that you're great, you're fine. If Miranda was an internet guru, she's only on Instagram, but if she were on YouTube, for example, like really going hard on YouTube, then you would never think that this girl had a problem ever. She's gorgeous. Her body's like amazing. She's like the crazy ass athlete, like sick, amazing athlete. And underneath it all, like, you know, there's points where I haven't heard from her in like days because she was like on the floor dying, like death.
On my birthday, even.
On your birthday. What the frack?
Yeah, I think
And,
that's such a great
yeah.
point, because we look at people, and Miranda is the ideal, and you see some of Stephanie's already talked about this, but if you go on her Instagram, you look at some of the things that this woman's body can do are nothing short of amazing. I've been doing yoga for 13 years, and I can't even hold a candle to some of the stuff that she can do. It is ridiculous.
Me too. I can't.
Are you kidding me? And she's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I think that's the danger of the internet gurus and the influencers. That's why, you know, I respect Stephanie so much, and that's why I try to stay transparent, even if it pisses people off for me to say I did this and it was detrimental. I feel like we have to keep telling the truth, and we have to keep telling these stories, because yeah, Miranda could like take over this stuff, you know, like just with the way she looks, and put up some handstand videos, and people will be like, hell yes, what are you doing? You know, and it doesn't show the internal health, you know, and that's why I keep reiterating to women, you know, are you ovulating? If you are of that age, is that happening for you? What's going on with your hormones? And also a cautionary tale about birth control. You know, I had to get my Mirena taken out in my early 30s because I had cystic acne so bad that it scarred. I had to go get all this laser stuff done to my chin. So, and then I was never able to tolerate birth control after that. So I feel really lucky that I haven't been on hormonal birth control in almost a decade. But it was only because I'm vain and I couldn't have.
I do the same thing. You're good.
You're all vain. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we need to promote this more and more, because yeah, there are so many influencers out there, you guys, who look amazing, but we don't know how they sleep. We don't know how they feel. We don't know if they spent 20 out of 24 hours laying on the floor, unable to get up from no energy. We don't know that. They just show you their highlight reel and the picture of the visible abs, and we need to hear more of this stuff. So
and we don't know what they're eating really behind the scenes.
How do we know? Sorry, Miranda.
No, you're good.
How do we know that they could be lying on the floor 24 hours and then put on the camera and everything's fine?
There's no way to know.
But I mean, like you and I have gone on camera when I felt absolute like garbage and didn't tell anybody. That's how we know. Yeah. That's what I've been saying for months. Like y'all can lie. We can lie about anything, especially with me, because like I've never had a weight issue, blah, blah, blah. So if I'm having a bad day, nobody would ever know. I would just hide it, period. So therefore, if I've hidden it, then I know that those other people that aren't even looking really healthy, they are definitely hiding it.
Yeah.
This point. Yeah. And the point that Miranda made about the birth control was also very telling when it comes to the male gurus. Like, dude, you don't know. I'm sorry.
All the people that I researched about keto and intermittent fasting, and I would put up, like, I knew what my symptoms were. I knew what I had. So I would research that and how to use keto as a form of medication for me. Every single guru said, okay, so for example, hypoglycemia. Sarah, you probably really understand this one. Having hypoglycemia, there's some people out there that say to cure your hypoglycemia, you need to fast. I'm like, so if I'm driving on the freeway and I'm having a hypoglycemia attack, I just need to breathe through it? Like that's not going to happen. Like, no way. And so when Steph was like, I need you to eat every 2 hours, I was like, what? You're crazy. That is not. And then I go, okay, do it. And then see. I'm very experimental. So I did it. And within a week, I was like, oh, I'm not dizzy anymore. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, I guess food is is not going to make me fat. And I think this is where women get so mentally toxic, is that whatever food you put in your mouth, you think you're going to get fat.
Yeah.
Food phobia. So then just don't eat. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. So just breaking your mental conditioning of the addiction to fasting will save you years of going to doctors, years of blood work, years of trying to figure out what's wrong with you if you were just to eat.
And what about the binging, right? Because that became a big problem in your life too, to this day,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Emotional. I grew up in a very heavily sugar indoctrinated
She
culture.
got a crazy background. Let's just put it that way. Crazy. She looks all lovely like a supermodel, but this girl has stories on me having me on the floor laughing. Crazy upbringing. I mean, you don't even know. Okay, y'all don't know. Go ahead.
All right. So, where was I going now?
About the binging, about the candy.
The binging, yes. So anytime we wouldn't feel well, we would be given something sugary or sweet. And then over a period of years, I just felt like, okay, sugar would just be medication. But then once I got off the sugar and my emotions were still there, I was like, okay, then I can eat more of protein. So once I started going carnivore, I'm like, okay, I'm having an emotional attack right now, so I'm just going to eat a whole bunch of meat. Then my kidneys started hurting, and I'm like, oh, what did I do? It's just like the binge eating just couldn't stop. But it wasn't because I was hungry. It was that I was emotionally starved. Yeah. And so I was feeding myself to see if that could help me overcome my depression and anxiety. That was also because of the birth control as well, and environmental. So now I've gotten a handle on my binge eating. Like I look at food so much differently, because when you transition from standard American diet to keto, dirty keto, to keto, omnivore, and then carnivore, it's like you're trickling down and you're retraining your brain to look at the plate differently. And when you see your plate differently, you have a much better respect for the food that's going in your body, instead of using it as a form of sedation. Really, that's what food addiction, that's my culture I came from, is food addiction, really.
Yeah, I agree. Which is why you were over 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. And you look like a different person back in the day. Not that far ago, actually, in terms of time.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Miranda, for that. So that's another very interesting story. So everybody's got, as you guys can see who are watching, everybody's got their own individual story. And I'm just so tired of everybody promoting intermittent fasting and saying how wonderful it is. Well, let's talk to real people. All right. And the truth is right there. Even in the chat section, which we'll go over very soon, you'll see a ton of people explaining, including there's a man out there. And this is also including men, but particularly women who really make up the most of keto diets and trends and carnivore dietary trends. We make up the majority. So why do we have so many male gurus telling us about you're going to be fine if you do X, Y, and Z without any proof?
And I just want to jump in and say this whole caveman thing is total BS, because if you look at how women were treated in tribes and how women were treated in society back then, when we were cavemen, the women were fed first because they carried the babies. The women and the children, they didn't fast. The men went out and hunted, but the women were fed. That was priority in these tribes, because they had to carry the children to carry on the tribe, to carry on the human race. So to continually sit and say that we're cavemen, that we used to fast for days at a time and this, that, and the other, perhaps in times of famine that happened, but even during that, the women were prioritized. That's the story, you know. So I feel like this caveman thing needs to just die. It drives me crazy, because there's so much wrong with that. You know, number one, they didn't have cell phones. They didn't have the same kind of stress that we have. They were outside all day getting vitamin D. They were resting. You know, it wasn't.
They had good guts. They had good guts.
Right.
That was another thing. Sorry, that like jumped up at me. Birth control ruins your gut.
Yes.
And when you have a gut when you have a gut that is leaking everything into your bloodstream, you're also having candida overgrowth. Guess what else gets in your bloodstream? Candida. And you are going to feel like crap, complete crap. Like, taking care of your gut should be the number one priority, because if you do have a strong gut, and for some reason we do go into a famine, your body will be able to acclimate and to get through whatever famine there is. But our gut is just super, super important, because that last fast, I remember the last fast I did, it was a 42-hour fast. It was a competition between me and my friend about 2 years ago. And oh my gosh, you guys, there's a bobcat outside my door. Sorry, squirrel.
She lives in the country, people.
That was creepy.
Okay.
I live up in the mountains, and it like came to the door. It looked at
They're
me.
big, those bobcats. They're big.
Yeah. Okay. That totally threw me off.
Jeez.
Sorry about that. So after that fast, I did my refeed, because they say, after you fast, you got to do appropriate refeed. I fasted for so long that it killed off all of my good microbiome and my bad. So then here I go, and I drink my kombucha. I go and have my kefir. I go and have my sauerkraut and everything, because I want to repopulate. That was the worst thing. I have been dealing with my leaky gut and candida. For my microbiome has been off because of the fasting. So that's what reminded me when you guys talked about the gut.
Oh yeah, the fasting, and then then the IUD, and the crazy training. Like, everybody, the background story of our lives, nobody knows that either. Like, what does my day truly look like in a 24 hours? And so that's also missing from a lot of gurus when they talk about fasting. What the lifestyle plays a big role in how successful, how horrible you will react to the fasting. And with what Sarah was saying about our hunter-gatherers makes perfect sense, because you can't have a baby and keep a tribe to a sizable size, surviving as a tribe of 20 if all the women are dying off. So it makes very much sense that they had to be eating first. And fasting is not something a part of any hunter-gatherer society that they ever wanted to do. It's just out of living outside. And so if they were fasting, they weren't trying to do cardio and pay bills and run around and look aesthetic and post on Instagram. So with that said, let's get to Sasha, because she got another friggin' interesting story. And then towards the end of this, I would love it if we all can just turn off our microphones and have a little chat. And I would love for Sarah to start doing a little bit more moderating after Sasha, and sort of going over some of the chat comments, and we can work together on this. But Sasha, you tell us your story, because y'all, here's another friggin' interesting story. Listen, people, here we go.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sasha. I'm 25. I'm from Germany. I have myasthenia gravis, which is an autoimmune disease that disturbs the signal transmission between a nerve and a muscle. So it causes for me, it causes a generalized muscle weakness. My eyes, basically all muscles that I can control, not the heart or anything, but swallowing, chewing, even breathing was an issue for me right now. Not right now, but in the past. Right now, I'm stable and I'm functioning, but I still have. I'm still not normal. I still have trouble with my eyes. I have double vision. I have. Yeah, I can't work out normally like normal people, because my muscles are just yeah, they give up. So that's why I wanted to change. I wanted to feel like myself, the person, because I'm actually also a competitive and athletic person. I got it when I was 10. Like, before that, as a kid, I was a tomboy. I was very athletic and always wanted to run. I loved running and skating. Yeah, and so I wanted to be that Sasha again. I wanted to fix this finally. And 2 years ago I discovered for a friend, my best friend, who's probably also watching. He showed me keto and fasting, but the dirty keto and fasting. Um, and so I did some research. I watched Dr. Berg, Thomas DeLauer, and made sense. It makes all sense. And I was like, yeah, wow, this is cool. I can do this. I'm kind of disciplined. I don't need if my body tells me I'm starving, I'm like, I don't care. I can just keep going. So, and what I did is I also noticed in the past that when I did go uh, if I had some time between meals, like I was going for like 10 hours without eating or something, I noticed that my symptoms improved. Like I wasn't feeling so weak. I felt energized, and so that made even more sense to fast. So I tried out intermittent fasting, and honestly, I felt very good at the start. I felt better than ever. I had energy. I My mind was clear. I didn't feel tired all the time. My eyes were popping open. I was able to go running. Like I went running for an hour straight. I It was like I was never able to jog, and then I was able to jog and I couldn't stop. Like at
Wow.
first I was like, okay, I'll do 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes, it works, it's working. So I kept going and kept going, and I did it every day. I did it like 7 days a week. I When I was able to run for an hour, I couldn't stop because I was like, what if I feel like shit again? Oh, sorry, I can't say
It's okay. It's okay.
feel like crap again. So yeah, that was intermittent fasting at first. For me, it worked very well, but my sleep was really bad, honestly. I felt that I had a lot of energy, but I sleeping was bad. And so I did more research on the internet, and I saw people doing these 30-day water fasts. And actually, that sounds really insane, but I saw so many people do it, and so I told myself I'll try to do a 3-day fast, because 3 days is like it's nothing, right? And so and everyone would seem to be still doing being active and working out and stuff like that. So I thought I can do that, and and then so I did a 3-day fast, and on the third day, I felt, well, I felt weak, but I didn't feel too bad. So I thought I want to go out and walk a bit. So it was hot outside. I wanted to take a long walk on the fields like I usually do, and I started to get, like, my heart started to feel off, like I was getting heart palpitations, and I was like, "Okay, maybe this is all in my mind. I'll just keep on going." And then it got worse. I started to have trouble breathing, and I thought, "Oh, it's all in my head or something." And then my heart started racing, and yeah, I thought I was gonna die because I couldn't breathe. I was sweating, and uh yeah, and I was in the middle of the field, middle of nowhere, all by myself, and I had this, it was a panic attack. I didn't know it was a panic attack. I thought I was just gonna die or have a heart attack, and that was really scary. I thought I'm gonna die alone in this field all by myself. And yeah, that was a scary experience. And after that, I didn't think, oh, maybe this fasting is a problem or something. I thought maybe I just didn't. I looked at, I did more research, and I saw maybe I'm not doing the electrolytes right or something, and so I focused on getting my electrolytes right when I fasted, but it still didn't work. I was still having my heart racing and trouble breathing. Really, trouble breathing was really the scariest thing. And yeah, and it didn't go away, and I kept doing it for like, or trying to do it for like 2 months, because the internet kept saying, yeah, it's cool, do it for a whole month, don't eat for a whole month. And so I I I've been having, I mean, I had these panic attack symptoms ever since then, and it took a very long time to get rid of that. And also, my thyroid was starting to get bad. My TSH was bad. And that's the first time I noticed that my T3 was constantly low. Like I because of my disease, I'm actually I always get blood work tests and stuff, but I never paid much attention to my blood work and stuff, and I just noticed that my T3 was like low for since 2014 or something, and I didn't know. And now it got worse, and I started taking thyroid medication also. And yeah, and I uh I totally backed off from fasting, and keto didn't work anymore too, because I tried to do keto after doing the fasting stuff because I found Steph, but it didn't work yet because I also didn't eat enough fat. I was scared of fat. I still hated the idea of eating like every 3, 4 hours. I was so in the fasting mode, and I don't know. I just liked always having these big meals, and yeah, fasting is like the first time you do it, it's great, but if you keep on doing it and your body is not healthy, it's just you just end up in the mess, and you don't heal your body with that. Or it didn't work for me. I just felt great like for a few moments, and then yeah, and so now I'm here and trying to do keto the right way with a lot of patience and guidance, and uh yeah.
Yeah. And this is, I think, Sasha's ending. Well, we got Sarah too, but out of the other women, the other four women, this is also very interesting because she started with an autoimmune disorder. She is 25. So we've got 25 to 61 age range, and people with different issues. So this is not all the same type of woman that the people out there watching. Because I saw in one of the comments, someone said, "I do fasting and I'm fine." Well, everybody says that when they're in the drinking the Jim Jones Kool-Aid. And if you don't know, Jim Jones was a cult leader back in the day. And people want to believe in these narratives. Even Sasha said, "Oh, it was great in the beginning. I had energy. Like, just keep going." Miranda did this thing for years. Okay,
Yeah.
for
Oh, she did that
years.
4 years.
Yeah,
You're
4 years.
dead.
And so now, Sasha, how do you feel now? Like, what's going on with you now? Because you have an autoimmune disorder, plus you have now the thyroid problems. Now you have two things on top of each other. And you're only freaking 25.
Yeah, I know. It's annoying. It's like, why do I have to I have this since I'm 10. Not the thyroid, but this autoimmune disease. And it's gotten better because I've been taking medication. That at the start I had to try out a bunch of medication. And now I'm at a good medication that seems to work. It flushes out all my B cells, and so the inflammation is less. So as I said, I found all of intermittent fasting 2 years ago, and I I was scared of all of that, so I just didn't do keto anymore. I didn't want to do anything like that. I just wanted to stop these panic attack symptoms that I had for like a few months after that. And then I even saw a psychiatrist and stuff, and took anxiety medication and stuff. It was a mess, and I don't take that stuff anymore. And I don't have any more symptoms of that kind anymore. And so in June or something, I don't I still wasn't happy. I still am not getting or gotten the results that I wanted. I still have all these symptoms of my autoimmune disease, which I just wish they would uh, get less, or I could just have more energy, because I'm constantly tired. My sleep was is horrible. Well, not right now because I've been doing it for like 2 months now, like doing your the stuff that you say. But before that, my sleep was terrible, depression. I'm just unhappy with my productivity levels, and yeah. So since June now, I've been doing what you tell people to do strictly, going to bed, and not no more coffee and all that stuff. And I'm not yet adapted yet, or some stuff. I don't have the energy yet, like that day, but I'm hoping that I'll get to that point uh when I was fasting, like that energy kind, because all my life I thought it's not possible for me to achieve that like go running and stuff like that. And so I realized it is achievable if I just like it's not just my disease. Like there are other factors that I can influence and do something about it. And so I'm just hoping that this will work out, and when I'm really strict and doing what you say, that it will work out. And I just need to be patient first. I felt pretty bad in the not pretty bad, not as bad as I did when I did fasting, that's for sure. Uh I'm feeling okay. I'm not feeling great. I'm feeling okay. I'm not feeling terrible. I can feel that my mood is better. Like I don't feel as depressed as I did at the beginning. I mean, like when I didn't try this yet. So it's I think it's getting there. I still need to wait and be patient and do all the good stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, with you, Sasha, and I'll talk to you more when on the page. But now I know more of your backstory. You said all the right things. You have to be very, very patient, and there's a lot of experimentation that has to be involved because what's good for me is clearly not going to be good for you, and nobody talks about the differences. Now, there's 3 women here who distinctly have autoimmune disorders. Unfortunately, Sasha, who's the youngest, has a bunch of them. And hopefully, I hope for her is that she can lower all medications at the end of the day, and get that energy that she so deserves and needs. And I think that and I know that you can. Not that I think you can. I know that you can, especially with having the courage enough to speak like here on this platform, and tell your story. So that shows that you're serious because, I just loosely put it out there for people to come and join. And you 5. Uh, well, 5 of you were really solid. I mean, Sarah, we already know. Miranda is not always like, hey, I want to be on the internet. And Sarah Franklin has autoimmunity because obviously you were showing signs of probably low T3 and thyroid symptoms. And Miranda has 2 already. You guys want to turn on your microphones and do you think that, because my question is out there, do you think that before we get to Sarah's, because we got to get to Sarah's story as well, but do you think that, Sarah F., do you think that had you never fasted, your thyroid symptoms wouldn't have come out so crazily? And the second question is, did you not hear about before that it could destroy your thyroid hormone production if you fasted? Like, I mean, before, were you like, if you had like, did you have any underlying symptoms before? And were there any signs from anybody else that you follow besides me that said, be careful for this?
Mm-hmm. I saw nobody say, not to fast. I don't think there was anyone out there that said, don't do this. It was all very positive. I think I may have had, I don't know if I had underlying thyroid. I mean, all my labs were normal before keto. But I think even in my own headspace, I knew, processed carbs were bad. I knew all those other sugar is bad, these things. And I had cut a lot of that out. And it was like, well, now what do I eat? So I was already eating too much protein and veggies. And that I was never in ketosis, but I was not feeling the tank, and I had some breakage of my hair. And that's when I was like, what the heck is this? And, but I looked great otherwise. And then once I was like, oh, well, maybe keto. And I added a little bit more fat, probably not much more fat that I was already doing. And I thought I was keto. It didn't get worse with the breaking, but it just started falling out. So that was worse, but I didn't attribute it. And then once I was like, oh, well, the fasting, this is going to help me get into a whole nother level and, really be able to lose this weight, be as healthy as quickly as I can. And it was kind of just, this is the best that I can do for my health, is change everything and do it all at once. And when I say fasting, like intermittent fasting, I think there were some comments about just that versus extended. And I mean, 18 to 24 hours were probably where I was around most of the time. But like you said, it wasn't like I was waking up first thing and eating. Like I was working out hard, coming home. I did cut out coffee about halfway through. So, I mean, I was drinking coffee at one point, then I had stopped, but it was just, I was doing all these things and working and out there. And if I was on the weekend, I'd be gardening or whatever. And you're like doing all these crazy things with no food at all and then eat later. So I know now that was not smart, but I think that really exacerbated everything. And like I said, when I first had my thyroid levels, it was pretty normal. And then all of a sudden it was, my T4 was low, my T3, like everything was just much worse and had gotten worse with extended fasting every day. And I did it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, you don't eat, this is your window. You got 6 hours at the most, if not one meal a day.
I want
So it
people to
was
hear what Sarah's
constant.
saying, because I keep seeing these comments that fasting's okay and there are benefits. There's no benefits. These are people, talking heads, telling you that there are benefits, and then it plants in your head and you're ignoring all the symptoms. Sarah F. just said, I fasted every single day. And in those days that she was fasting, if somebody had come around and said, oh, no, this is bad for you, she would have doubted it. She would have been one of these women in the comment section like,
Absolutely.
oh, they're just being overreactive. There are benefits, because you have to convince yourself of that. Right, Yogi? Yeah. Yeah. And Miranda, I guess you did it probably the longest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're destroyed because it destroyed your health.
It totally did. It was the perfect storm. I'd say I keep thinking, wow, this was the perfect storm for my body to completely give out. And the really ironic thing is that when I was down and out in the bed for about a week, I called all the doctors. I went to over 5 different doctors last year. Each one of them did the same blood work, and they all said, oh, your thyroid is fine. This is fine. That is fine. So then I'm like, wow, just like Sasha, this is all in my head. And I also had a lot of panic attacks in the middle of the night, middle of the day. It would come when I'm driving. And what's interesting with Hashimoto's is that it comes in stages. And so it's not going to come up in a blood test that a general practitioner is going to pull up. So it wasn't until I started getting down to the nitty gritty and going, okay, what is optimal for my thyroid level? What is optimal for my body to function? And what the doctors were saying were optimal was not optimal for me.
No.
So now I'm on this fasting kick.
I want to put a lot of emphasis on the fact that Miranda's saying that, she had some times where she felt great, or Sasha was like, I felt great. So a lot of you out there are going to sit and say, I feel great. No, you don't feel great. You think that you feel great. You could do lab numbers and run everything's fine, and then keep convincing yourself. Who else does fasting for autophagy? You can't even measure it. People do it to lose weight. I mean, that's insane.
Totally. Yep.
I even have to say one thing where to combat, I found that I had low T4 eventually was one of the numbers, free T4. And I found a keto person who was a physician had an article about, why keto people might have that number low. So I convinced myself that was normal and that, oh, this is okay because I'm keto. So I was telling the functional medicine doctor that you need to read this study because maybe you don't know what you're talking about. But
I've had that experience where I've even heard it on a popular carnivore doctor's podcast. He's saying low T3 happens with carnivore and keto. It's fine. We don't need to worry about it. And I was like, I've never had low T3 in my life, but now I have low T3.
We're more efficient.
It's okay because my body's more efficient, even though I feel like complete crap.
I listened to
now.
him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's on his podcast. We get to hear shit on, excuse my language, but we hear this shit on podcasts, and we're like, okay, well, everyone else has a low T3, even though I feel like crap, even though I'm not sleeping, even though, even though I'm having all these symptoms. It was on a podcast, and I'm getting autophagy.
When we hear things from podcasts, why do we think it's gospel truth? I think it's ridiculous. I remember when I started diving into carnivore, I was diving into all the carnivore podcasts, and there was a woman that really inspired me. And I was on a run that morning, and she was just like, you can eat as much protein as you want, and aesthetically, you're just going to be stronger, leaner, faster, smarter. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And then I joined the bandwagon, and then I was like, why am I so tired? Why are my kidneys hurting? Yeah, don't believe everything you see and hear.
At all. And the thing is even with this podcast, these are women telling their stories, and you can see there's similarities to it. That's why we have several people here rather than just Sarah, Carnivore Yogi. We have a couple of different people explaining their story. And so these women I asked to come, or Sarah and I have asked to come and just tell their story. They're not trying to push anything on anyone. They're just going, look, I did this. I learned from somebody else. I did it. It destroyed me. So that's it. You guys can take with it that information what you will. But these are real people. That's the point of this here podcast. It's just real people, real stories. And with that said, let's get into Sarah, okay? Because we got to save the best for last. Not that she's better than anybody else, but she puts herself on the internet daily. Okay, and that's a big, huge risk of people coming at you. It's not easy to put your real story online. So, Sarah, hit it.
Yeah, people get very triggered when you tell your story because it's like cognitive dissonance. Wait a minute. I just listened to like 4 hours of podcasts saying that nothing that you say is true. So I'm sorry, I'm going to believe the podcast rather than your story.
Or the MD.
Or the MD, because they have letters behind their name. And this is what I say all the time on my channel is, Steph has worked with people for 12 years plus and one-on-one. And a lot of these doctors that are out here promoting keto and carnivore have only been keto or carnivore themselves for maybe a couple of years. And they have not worked one-on-one with people. So they're making these blanket statements and saying it's not going to hurt you, it's not going to cause a problem, but they haven't one-on-one worked with people to the level that Stephanie has, if at all. They're not, a lot of them aren't even working with people. They're just putting stuff on YouTube and making their podcasts and writing books and going on tours and making money.
Not to cut you off, not only that, but they're not telling you how you won't injure yourself. They
Right.
just say that you won't injure yourself, which is a blanket statement.
Yeah.
They don't say how to prevent injuring yourself, or anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, so yeah, and I have to go get my daughter in 15 minutes, so I'll try to keep things brief here. But, really my story was that I was having a lot of autoimmune symptoms. I was having a lot of joint pain. I had cysts on my ovaries. And so I decided I would go carnivore. And I had a lot of irritable bowel syndrome, a lot of bloating. And so going carnivore helped with a lot of that. And of course, you get into something like a lot of other ladies have stated, and you say, oh, well, more must be better. And it's almost like once you start doing carnivore or keto, it's like the fasting comes right along with it. And, as Sarah has said, and everyone said kind of in this chat, is like, we just want to do it right. We want to do the best thing for our bodies. We want to do the best thing for ourselves. And so we start fasting right away because we're told you want autophagy, you want the best thing for your body, you want to keep your insulin low, you want to keep your blood sugar low, all this, that, and the other. And someone just, I shouldn't be reading comments and talking at the same time. It's a bad habit. But someone says, I guess it might help with autophagy, but it's changing your hormonal profile. It's canceling out the benefits. And that's what happened to me immediately when I started fasting. Is my cycle was already kind of wonky going into carnivore. But then as soon as I started fasting, I would start going entire months with no period. And I'm like, that's weird, because I think I'm a little too young for that to be happening. But then you start talking about it and people are like, oh no, I went into menopause at 40. And you're like, well, crap. I don't think that's normal, so I just had this feeling in the pit of my stomach that missing my period was not normal, and that it would be like 40 days before the next one. And then like I'd have it and it would last 2 days, and it just started getting weirder and weirder. but I kept fasting because I wanted the benefits, of whatever was going on, why I was missing my period. The fasting would probably make it better from what I was reading. Fasting will help your hormones, and fasting can help adrenal fatigue and so. Yeah. And people are like, oh, you're talking about extended fasting. No, I was doing mostly intermittent fasting. I would throw in extended fasting from time to time. I'd do a 48-hour or 72-hour. At one point, I did a 6.5-day water fast, which was a total disaster because I was sick for a week afterwards. My stomach was jacked up. I got a sore throat. I went to the doctor. They couldn't find anything wrong with me, but I was very sick and throwing up. The week after I did break my fast, I was throwing up that whole week because I couldn't hold food down. And everyone's like, no, it's great for your body. It was not great for my body. So even that, after that 6.5-day water fast, which is what I did back in July of last year, I was still having problems. My cycle still wasn't coming back. And I was like, okay, I won't go over, I'll just do like 16-8, or I'll just do like a 4-hour eating window. So I had quit doing all extended fasting by I think it was like August of last year was the last time I did an extended fast. So it was just intermittent fasting, right? Just intermittent fasting. Like I said, some days 16-8, some days I would only do a 4-hour eating window. But I thought that I should still at least do the intermittent fasting, and my cycle still didn't return. And my sleep, that was the crazy thing, is I had so much cortisol that I was literally waking up all night. And then I had the thing that really scared me was that I had a continuous glucose monitor on. And my blood glucose was going up into the 100s. It was shooting up 30 or 40 points in my sleep. There's no way I would have known that was happening if I didn't have that continuous glucose monitor on. So I think a lot of people are like, I'm doing great. I'm doing OMAD. I'm doing fasting. I feel great, but you don't really know what your blood sugar is doing until you have that truth teller there on your arm and you're spiking in the middle of the night. That's terrifying. When I had my last meal was at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I was like spiking in the middle of the night for what? That is cortisol. That's gluconeogenesis. That's your body eating itself in the middle of the night, I've always had nice kind of chiseled arms from doing a lot of chaturanga push-ups and doing stuff in the gym. All of a sudden, my arms started looking like crap. And I was like, what happened to my beautiful, arms that I could show off in a tank top? All of a sudden, they were looking kind of flabby. And I was like, okay. And then right about that time, I met Steph. A lot of you guys know that story where I met Steph and interviewed her, got a consult with her, started doing what she was saying. And literally within 2 weeks of doing what she said, I got my period back. And here we are, August. I'm ovulating today because I track my ovulation. Woohoo! I'm ovulating today, and I've ovulated every month because a lot of people, you can have a period and not ovulate. That's one thing. A lot of women don't even know that. Oh, I got my period, so I'm fine. Are you ovulating? You need to be checking that out too, because if you're not ovulating, you are, again, tripping towards menopause, tripping towards perimenopause. You got that low progesterone. So I'm really excited that I have ovulated every month since I've been doing what Stephanie said. I'm feeling better. I'm sleeping better. Everything is working better for me. Just from doing zero fasting and upping my fat. So I'm a believer in it. And the more and more I do it, the more and more I'm like, I feel like other women are probably going through this also. And we're listening to this advice, being told that it's a healthy benefit, and experiencing the opposite. So, and the other thing is I had low T3 for the first time in my life when I got my blood work done. And my thyroid labs were always beautiful. I've never had any thyroid issues, but for the first time, my T3 was low. But of course, like Sarah was saying, I listened to a podcast that said your T3 is going to get low, and that's fine. No problem. Watch your T3 bottom the shit out and don't worry about it because it's normal. guess what? My T3 is not low anymore. I've retested it. It's fine now. But that's because I quit fasting and I started eating a lot of fat and moderating my protein. So that's me on my little soapbox.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I wanted to save Sarah's story for last is because, like I said, you're online, you're talking to people, you are fasting, you're eating high protein, and you got results, right? You got the weight you said before earlier yesterday. Hey, I can drop weight real fast. But then what
It
happened
came
with that?
back. This is the thing that I was like, I don't know if you heard my WhatsApp this morning. I was like ranting. This is what I do, Stephanie. I'll like go on WhatsApp and I'll talk for like 10 minutes on a rant. And I'm like, because I'm losing weight right now. I'm trying to lose just like 1 pound a week. And I'm frustrated because my script is like, you can lose 5 pounds in a week and you can lose weight really, really fast, right? I know how to lose weight really fast. I'm trying to do this the right way, without screwing up my hormones, without totally messing up my body. And it's hard but every single time I did a fast or every single time I lost weight really fast, there was a rebound, right? So lose 10 pounds, gain back 5, lose 10 pounds, gain back 15. Like this is the thing, like you can lose weight real quick. You can show your really cute before after pictures. Go ahead. But let's talk in 6 months. I see people that I lost 100 and, some odd pounds doing OMAD and carnivore or one meal every other day. And yeah, you look really good, but 6 months later, they gained 40 pounds back. Your body will always try to get you to rebound. If you abuse it, if you take away food, if you put yourself in starvation, your body will always rebound.
Always.
I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So it may look trendy and may feel good at the time. You got all that adrenaline pumping through your body from not eating. Yeah, it feels good.
Yep.
I loved it. I was addicted to it.
Yep.
But then all the weight came back on and more. So was it worth it?
That's when you stop the fasting, right? And you're like, okay, I want my period's gone. I'm all over the place with my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start having GFR, kidney issues, like all kind of issues, electrolyte issues, the high protein, the fasting, like everything will start just completely whacking your health up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a smart woman, people. These are all smart women. These aren't, clearly you hear everyone speak. They all have an understanding. These aren't like naive people here. It's just that you get so much of disinformation from the wrong people. Now, somebody made a comment about like, does this only happen to women? No, it doesn't. All this happens to men too. But right now we just talk about the women because we are women and it's irrefutable and we're all here. And, that's that. And because most women are the ones that do these dietary or lifestyle dietary measures, low carb, anything, a carnivore, keto, whatever. And so most of the population make up of women.
Yeah.
So yeah, men get fracked up too, but we ain't talking about them today. But they get just as fracked up in other ways. They get high estrogen, high dihydrotestosterone. They have adrenal fatigue. They have thyroid problems. There's a guy I know right now. He's very prominent bodybuilder. Working with him, and he has low T3. Okay, and
That's normal.
Yes, this happens to people. So I'm sorry, men. Yes, it happens to men too. But for now, and it's much more obvious with women because women have 2 days in one. A lot of you women have kids, or we are very multitaskers. We're very vast, also oxytocin driven. We do 20 things at once, and we have the day ends at 5 and starts again for women at 5. Like you have 2 days in one. So women really, really get it. Men come home and they put on the TV and they go click, 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 click. And women are like, I need to do this. 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 Or men are in the garage or whatever.
Yeah, I related so much to what Miranda said about, it's almost like a competition thing. Like you go to the gym, you haven't eaten. Then you go grocery shopping, you still haven't eaten. And then you clean your house and you haven't eaten. And then you're picking it. I can go all day without eat and just run on pure adrenaline. But that's the thing. Eventually your body is going to give out. Eventually your adrenal glands are going to fizzle out and you're going to get that severe adrenal fatigue. It's going to rob from your sex hormones and everything's going to go to hell because your body will eventually get what it needs. If it needs rest, it needs food, So you know what? If you don't give it to it, like Miranda is dealing with Hashimoto's right now, your body will give out and you will be forced to rest. If you don't give yourself rest and nutrition, you're eventually going to be forced to do it. Nobody's getting ahead by doing all this stuff.
And before you go, Sarah, I just wanted to make a point about you being a carnivore proponent, and because you're on carnivore, Miranda's now on carnivore, Andrea's on carnivore. What about the carnivore women out there? And there's no names, and we're not trying to shout out anybody here, so do not go run to people's channels, because that's not what this is about. This is about just trying to hear real people and real stories on this subject. And I've worked with thousands of people over the years. So I'm the one that I never fasted. I don't fast, never believed in fasted. I've been saying it the whole time. But I've worked with a lot of people who have. What do you think about some of the women out there that push this narrative and have lost all this weight and they're online? And like, what's your sentiments on the subject of women who talk about all this fasting, 1 meal a day?
I haven't seen a lot of them last, honestly. I haven't seen a lot of them have long-term health. I haven't seen a lot of them maintain a weight loss.
Or do they look even healthy?
Yeah, and I don't see a lot of them particularly looking healthy either. I mean, you can see, telltale signs of thyroid issues, the eyebrows thinning out at the corners, the face looking super paper thin. There's no like collagen left in the face.
Skinny little necks, like lollipop necks.
Yeah, I mean and like I said, I'm not going to call anyone out or anything like that, but yeah, you can look at someone and tell whether or not they're healthy, whether or not what they're doing is working for them. And I'm not perfect looking. I'm not getting around like Steph in a sports bra or anything like that, but I'm just trying to keep it real. And people that say there's nothing wrong and everything's great, you can kind of see like, wait a minute, like you obviously just gained like 30 pounds, and you're a big proponent of OMAD, you're a big proponent of fasting, but you gain like 30 pounds, like really quickly.
But even the women, I'll say it, that I see who do carnivore, who are gurus, and they do their before and after pictures. For me, who's been a health coach for freaking over like 24 years, with my knowledge of the body and health and physiology and their muscularity and their lean mass, they look unhealthy to me. Yeah. Women should have little stick legs. I'm sorry. All right. That's not indication of health. Being low weight on a scale is not an indication of health.
No, it's not.
You just got your period back. You're super fertile in your 40s. You're healthy. Your skin looks great. It's like you're repairing all this damage, especially to that T3. Yeah. So people need to stop looking at weight on a scale. Look how great Sarah looks. I mean, you look freaking radiated, just beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, you do. And you know that you do. So it's even battling the whole weight issue is a whole nother topic. We should hit that on your channel. And I know that you got to go.
Yeah, I got to go pick up Miss Alexis. But
pick up her daughter. So I just want to say that because, I'll say it. I look at them with my experience and be like, I don't care that you lost 60 pounds. You look sick as frack, period. I'll take all the credit for that. All right. Now, Sarah's got to go.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Sasha and Sarah, do you guys have any closing words you want to give to our audience? I would like you to give some closing thoughts to our audience, because you both are in two different positions with your health and fasting. And also, I want you to you're both doing keto now. Are you guys doing carnivore? So if you unmute your microphone, Sasha, so we can have this last words. Let's say Sasha, and they'll have Sarah do the last words. I would like to know if you're doing keto or carnivore right now, and your last closing thoughts on this whole thing.
I'm doing keto right now. I think I should switch over to carnivore though, because of my autoimmune, and I like stuff like avocado really messes me up. I noticed, so I'm assuming that there's more. So I should just go carnivore and check that.
Don't be scared.
You're scared, to be honest. Like this electrolyte thing, potassium, and then I'm thinking about, oh crap, what if it's stuff happens?
You're on the course page.
And I have
So Sasha, you're on the course page, so I'll talk to you there. I'll hit you up in a DM and find out what's going on more specifically, and we'll get you transitioned over carnivore-ish. But do you have any last words for our audience on the matter of fasting? And you can speak up a little bit. Yours sound a little low. The mic.
Oh, I got my mic all the way over here. I put it away. Okay, now it's better, right? Yeah, I'm glad that I did this. Obviously, it was good information, hearing other people and getting to know people also who went through similar things as I did. And yeah, what to the audience, what I can say is that I hope everyone takes these things into account and stays patient and keeps informing themselves, and not just from one source. And what else should I say? It's cool being here. I never done something like this before. I feel like a B celebrity right now. Like, I hope I'll get to my results that I would like to have. And
you will.
Yeah.
You will, because you're young enough and you're learning. I wish I knew this stuff at 25. I didn't know. I could have prohibited and stopped myself from going through a lot of garbage if I had the position that you have right now. So look at it that way. You might be stricken with an autoimmune disorder that might have just saved your butt forever, because from now until your future, you'll be able to start taking better care of your health, especially in these times, in the crazy world that we're living in right now. You're way ahead of the curve, so you're going to do fine.
I'm kind of lucky with my autoimmune disease, because I started very young of being aware of things and trying harder than other people. And I guess I guess I could say that if I hadn't had this autoimmune disease, then I'd be as lame as everyone else, or
it would be
I'd probably be sick at one point.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Sasha. And then Sarah, you're doing keto, right?
I was doing keto. I'm carnivore now, just because I've been having a lot of just different issues with food-ish sensitivities that I didn't really know I had. And I'm trying to, speed up some of the healing process, which I know took a long time to do, to get that bad. But, I know I'm doing the right thing now. Definitely stopping fasting has helped immensely, even just if it's mentally. That's a huge part right there. I know I have a lot of work to do, but yet I'm feeling better. It's a journey. I mean, I think, like Sasha said, like, don't get all your information from one source, but trust your own body, because we are all different. So if something's working for someone else, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think that was the hardest part of, watching someone else's journey, be like, wow, well, they ate 3 ribeyes, so I can eat 3 ribeyes, or whatever it might be. And I've overeaten protein the whole time, thinking that I'm doing all this good because I took out all the bad stuff. But, it still probably was spiking my, blood sugar and making things worse. So, even though it wasn't the wrong food, it was just eating to excess. So, listen to your own body. And thank you for having me. And I appreciate all that you do for all of us. So
thank you so much, Sarah. And I think you're right. You have to listen to your body. And also Sasha was alluding to that as well, that you have to do your own experimentation, and equals 1, and not just listen to one person. Miranda also, I think, said that. Listen to a bunch of, get your information from very many sources, and then start to experiment and weed down, and don't be in denial, because you can end up, like you, starting to develop thyroid disorder from fasting and eating too much protein, not being keto adapted. And these are subjects, I think, between Sarah's channel and mine, we're going to keep evolving on these subjects. Like, it could be like, next time could be like eating too much protein, not enough fat. What's that, the effects on the body as well? But we can't get it all in one talk. We really wanted to hit the fasting conversation. And I wanted to, so thank you both. I'm going to take a couple questions, and then I've got to go run to my horse, because I'll be riding 3 hours in the mountains very soon. So thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to take a few questions and then we're going to bounce. So thank you guys.
Thanks.
Okay, so you see, I think it would be interesting to see you do this discussion again, but with men as well. Yeah, Nia, the point was not to discuss it with men because, and I can do it next time with men or in the few next times with men. But like I said, the majority of the audience is women who actually do low carb, keto, carnivore, all of it's mostly women, and they get jacked and our hormones go crazy and more women are having things like thyroid disorders, and menstrual cycle issues, either becoming infertile or bleeding too much. And that's the reason why I wanted to focus on women this time. Thank you, Becky Niles. Love you too. Carnivore Yogi, thanks for sharing. I had a very similar symptoms to yours. Didn't know that, would know what it was, what was wrong. I'm sure you helped a lot of women. Yes. A lot of people love you out there, Sasha. I love Sasha. It says here. Not cute? All right, that's cool. Okay.
I know that person. What a goof.
Okay, I don't know that person, but that's cool that they love you anyway. Let me see. I love this live. I've been getting dizzy and I'm convinced it's not only vertigo. Yes. So the electrolyte problem, the high cortisol from not being keto adapted from fasting and eating too much protein. I guess it might be due to many hours of intermittent fasting. Yes, definitely. Definitely. That's a cortisol. Fasting is bad for women was Valder Longo's research done on men only. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea about that research. So that's something you might want to come at me with later. Let's see here about obsessing about pounds is so unhealthy. I feel messed up adrenal hormones, hunger and hunger signals. Perry Beller says yes. Let's see here. But when I discovered high fasting blood sugar 8 months, I stopped to try and figure things out. Most of the weight came back quickly, except maybe 4 to 5 pounds. And that's very common too. People fast, lose weight, and most of the weight comes back. But then after that, they have like metabolic derangement. Like that's Sarah. Like she went up. Now she's trying to get her hormones back in check to go back down to a healthy weight. Let me see here. It says, Stella, tell me about it. Just finished a 72 hour last week, 72 hour fast last week and still paying for it. Yes. Let's see here. Ashley, I resisted. Let me see, about a year, noticing I was becoming trendy. I've been triggered, but gut feeling that wrecked. Okay, so here's Perry saying again, I resisted for about a year, noticing it was becoming so trendy and having triggered gut feeling that I reeked of extreme dieting and eating disorders. Let me see. Really, these stupid phones? Ugh, I just can't. See, very informative. Rampa says, very informative and educating to meet all the ladies. Good format. Let me highlight this. Let me see. Good format for a live show on YouTube, right? Thank you, Ramha. Let's see here. I think it's the difference between, okay, somebody asked what the difference. I saw that dirty keto and clean keto. Obviously, dirty keto is like almond flour and nuts and cheese and everything that's inflammatory to the gut wall, you know, having things that have sugar in it because they think like, oh, this only has 5 grams of sugar. So they'll have some keto ice cream and they'll use xylitol and it has 5 grams of sugar in it. And, you know, instead of just eating, like if you're doing keto, then cruciferous vegetables, butter, or tallow lard, and a fatty meat. And carnivore, well, carnivore is completely different, but people really eat like a lot of faux carbs made out of almond flour and cheeses and xylitol on dirty keto, with dirty keto. And you get those products out there, dark chocolate, coffee, protein, collagen powder garbage, How much fat is not enough to balance hormones? Everybody's different, Rama. So I always start at 200 grams of fat, 200 to 300. Let's see here. I hear you, Sasha. I'm afraid of fat intake. See, being patient with your frustrated is really the hard part of trying. Okay, so let me see if I go back to here. What do you think about digestive enzymes? Now, digestive enzymes are good for the short term, but unfortunately, if you're on digestive enzymes like protease or lipase, protease or probably protease, lipase, then your body stops producing its own enzymes. It stops. So you do like a bottle, or which is like a month or two, and then stop. You don't just do it forever. Is carnivore better than omnivore, keto? I think that they're for different reasons. That's a good question. I'm like, oh my God, I got to hurry up and get to this ranch. It's different for different reasons. People who are doing keto omnivore are still looking for like, for example, with avocados, you can still get the potassium. The boiled occasional spinach that you strain out, you can still get potassium. And cauliflower, you get like about 70 grams of potassium per cup, I think. 70 cauliflower, cabbage, you can still get potassium from plants. You can get a certain amount of potassium from meats, like if you do a meat broth rather than a bone broth, you can get about 250 to 300 milligrams of potassium in a cup of meat broth. But some people have a histamine response to the meat broth, or they can still eat the plants. They don't have a gut reaction to it or a histamine reaction to it. So they still like to have the gut. Some people still like to use a little bit of that prebiotic fiber that's naturally in plants. Some people have gotten such a bad dysbiosis of the gut, a paralyzed colon due to candida, that they use fiber for the short term. Now, fiber over time is damaging to the gut wall, but they use fiber for the short term to be able to poop. So that's why. But you can use also like eggshells or bones or fish bone, calcium, or collagen itself, the gristle for fiber, the matrix fiber from animals if you want to do strict carnivore. So carnivore puts you at risk more of an electrolyte imbalance just due to the lack of potassium. Some people have worsening issues with uric acid buildup from eating meat only on the plate, although they really should do a high fat, moderate to low protein. These other people who are saying you shouldn't eat low protein, they don't really contextualize things. It's about driving ketosis, so the fat has to be high. Let's see here. Just found your channel. How do you get into schedule a consult? So I'm about to open up a bunch of new dates. I've been saying that, but I've got 2 people who are going to help me with my business. So I've just been too busy. Like right now I'm having like stress because at 1 o'clock I'm supposed to be saddled and ready to go with my horse. And I'm meeting 2 people to do it. So I need to shut up and get off of this stream. Rye crackers. I eat low carb rye because I just have issues. No, that's a whole nother stream. I would not use rye crackers for best food boosts collagen. It's not organ meats. Best food to boost collagen is the organ meats, but it's really about not going into gluconeogenesis, preventing too much protein breakdown from your collagen because of poor lifestyle and coffee and skipping meals and fasting and all this stuff. Can you boost estrogen levels with food? You mean, is your estrogen low? You mean, it's not just estrogen. You have to boost progesterone and testosterone. So yeah, that's all your sex hormones if your progesterone is low. Do death talk about low carb high fat next time? Yes, I will do a talk about low carb high fat because many of you become hypoglycemic or have thyroid issues doing keto just because you don't know how to do it. It's not that you can't. It's just that not knowing how to get it right. The whole life, the 24-hour day, doing any of these keto or carnivore lifestyles have nothing to do with just the diet. It's the whole freaking 24-hour day and the person that you are and the prior damage. And with that said, thanks to no fermented pickles for electrolytes. You don't need it. And that's a big no, and I'll tell you why in another stream. Oh, that was Nancy. Oh, Nancy. No. Well, Nancy, I'll ask that on the page. Ask that on the course page. You guys have a course page. It's through stephanieperson.com. Don't forget to like up the stream. I forgot to say all those things. If you guys have more subjects you want me to talk about, put it in the comment section below under this channel. Can I get an appointment with you? I have an October appointment with you. Email me, Toya. We'll see what I can do. just email me. You should have my email if you've booked an appointment. Otherwise, my Instagram is Stephanie Ketogenic. My Facebook is Stephanie the Business Person. I'm almost 53, right around the corner, and I got energy for days. 13 years without any repeat, on carbs, been keto full up the whole way. I'm an Omnivore now, which is an avocado carnivore for the potassium. I'm trying to bring my rheumatoid arthritis under control without meds. Should I go strict fatty meat, salt, safe water? I would suggest to go to my course page. There I answer questions, Scott. It's tricky to do any of these low carb protocols when you have rheumatoid arthritis, but when done correctly, you can literally be asymptomatic and not have any symptoms. I've worked with a few RA people, especially one particular. She's been with me now for years. She's like, I've changed her life. So doing either keto or carnivore could be absolutely amazing, especially carnivore for people with RA. But that's a whole nother subject. I'm trying to go because I've got to go and get on a horse. My horse. You guys can check that ride out at Stephanie Ketogenic on my Instagram on the stories, because I will be posting for the next 4 hours me riding up in the mountains. You guys know I'm moving out of California. The whole subject about Charade Rona is a whole nother subject, but not today. I just really wish you guys well under these really difficult times for everybody with the economy and such, and all of the craziness, as you can hear outside my window, which is why I want to move out of LA, because I'm tired of the debauchery and ridiculousness that's going on with the state of California. I eat avocado, meat broth. I still need to supplement potassium. Millie, if you've got, Melanie, if you've got any type of gut dysbiosis, leaky gut, and you're losing minerals, yes, it could be a possibility, but take that on the course page. Yes, I'm going to go enjoy Thunder. Yes. So, Lois, thank you. Thank you, Nia, and everybody who came to this live talk. This is the first time this has ever been done in history where somebody goes against the narrative and puts women all together. So I'm really excited about this first time thing without mentioning any names, because I'm not trying to get in no war with no people. I just wanted to have real voices, real people, and because I will tell y'all that fasting is nonsense, but that's whatever. It's really good to hear people's individual stories. What's up, Sherry? Sherry from Norway. Hey, son, hur mår du? Det är tid för dig att gå och sova. Gå och lägga sig nu och sova. Det är för sent. That's Swedish, but she'll probably understand a little bit of it. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I'm out. Yes. Catch the replay. This was a great conversation. Thank you, everyone. From Sasha to the two Sarahs, Andrea, and Miranda. Go check Miranda on Miranda Carnivore or Yogi. No, wait. Miranda Carnivore or Carnivore Miranda, something like that on Instagram. I don't have it in front of me, but go check out her channel. She's on my list of people I follow. My Instagram is Stephanie Ketogenic. My Facebook is Stephanie the Business, as in the business person. And you guys, I'm out. I got some energy, always. All right. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. And I'm out.